Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Halleck. This week, righting a wrong. The change in the works for this iconic statue of French explorer Samuel De Champlain that overlooks the lake that bears his name. As part of the big read last spring on PBS, a festival was held at SUNY Plattsburgh to celebrate Native American culture. Among the events held on campus was a symposium about statues that feature Native Americans, and much of the discussion focused on the Champlain Monument that has been a landmark on the waterfront in the city of Plattsburgh for more than a century. Pastor Greg Huth, who had just moved to the area a few years ago, says the first time he saw the statue, he was taken aback.
Because of just kind of the apparent dominant position of Champlain being way up, being dressed in armor, and the Native American being at the base of the statue, being crouched down. It just puzzled me. It just felt kind of like a European triumphalist, boy, didn't we beat up these Indians, you know, and we're the master of all we survey. So at that meeting, I raised those concerns, and people signed up who had similar concerns. And out of that grew the Champlain Statue Working Group.
And as that group that included historians and Native Americans dug into the history of the statue, they found a glaring inaccuracy.
That's a headdress that no one in the Northeast, no Native peoples, wore that kind of headdress. They were in the woods here. Apparently, Native people in the plains states out west, they weren't states then, but out west may have worn that kind. But nobody here did. It was totally inaccurate.
It's more characteristic of one worn by Plains Indians than any of the tribes here in the Northeast in Canada. And apparently it was a mistake the architect and sculptor of the statue quickly discovered.
The people, after the statue was underway, discovered that the headdress was historically inaccurate from the very beginning. But they didn't have the money to redo the Indian part of the statue or any part, so it remained.
But there were other concerns as well. While Champlain was an extraordinary explorer, many felt the monument implies that he discovered the lake during his voyage here in 1609.
He's listed there as navigator, discoverer, colonizer. And that suggests, to me anyway, it still does, it suggests that, oh my gosh, we didn't know there was a lake here until this white European guy came and told us. One of the things many things I learned through doing this, there were human beings, Native peoples here, indigenous peoples, for 11,000 years before Champlain came. They knew there was a lake. They lived on it, they fished on it, they named it. It had different names actually. From the Mohawks were on the western side of the lake, and the Abenaki people were on the eastern side of the lake. They all knew there was a lake. Now that may not be what was meant. But it's certainly, from a European point of view, he was the first white guy. He was the first European to come and see this lake. But it wasn't like it was this unknown Shangri-La that no one had seen before. So we wanted to talk about that. We wanted to talk about the Native American contribution, alliance with Champlain, and how long they were here. He would not have discovered the lake if Native Americans had not brought him here.
But unlike in southern states where controversy led to the removal of Confederate statues, this group says that was never considered.
We never talked about tearing down the statue as they did in Charlottesville.
We never talked about wanting to tear it down. But everybody in our group wanted to make this an educational opportunity, to have more information here, to give context, to correct inaccuracies. We are reacting in 2019 to the appearance and the wording from 1912. We feel like we're adding to it.
And that's what they hope this interpretive panel will do. After getting the city's okay to put it up, they've raised about $2,000, and with the Lake Champlain Basin Program have created this panel that addresses some of those inaccuracies. They plan to install it near the statue sometime next spring.
So you can look at the monument at at the same time you're reading like how the headdress is wrong.
They also plan to invite indigenous people from the region to the dedication ceremony. In Champlain, north of Toronto, a Champlain statue that included indigenous people kneeling at the feet of a Jesuit priest and fur trader is being altered, and a new plaque added to more accurately describe Champlain's relationship with First Nations people, who he relied on as guides and for supplies.